Hello students, welcome to Recitals in Depth. Herein, we will cover the Defense and Security July 2024 current affairs topics in detail. The broader themes which we are going to cover are as follows: security architecture of India, emerging technologies and their impact, military exercises and defense technologies. So this is our index for the month of July in the defense and security section. So after reading these segments, we will also discuss a few questions which will be for your practice in the mains. You can write their answers in the comment section. 7th Apex level meeting of the Narco Coordination Center, NCOD. So in this, the Union Home Minister has launched a 24/7 helpline called Manas. Its toll-free number will be 1933. Along with this, you will also be having a website and an app to get connected with the NCB. Now we will first understand what is the NCB and what is the role it is going to play. NCB, Narcotics Control Bureau, it is the apex law, drug enforcement and intelligence agency. So if there is anything related to narcotics and drugs, then the NCB will come into functioning. Also, it is based on the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, also known as the NDPS Act in short. It is working under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So this is the overall structure. But what is this NCOD that we had discussed in the beginning? This NCOD is Narco Coordination Center. What is the overall aim? What is the overall aim is that the states and the center should coordinate with each other properly, and the Ministry of Home Affairs will get a follow-up through this coordination center. This is the NCOD. At the apex level, the person who is heading this is the Union Home Secretary. When we go to the executive level, who will be the executive authority in this? This will be a special secretary from the Ministry of Home Affairs. At the level of each state, the person in charge will be the chief secretary, and at the district level, it will be the district magistrate. So, with this we know the overall architecture of this. Now we will see what will happen in this. This overall is the regulatory framework for the fight against drugs. So what happens is, if such a question comes in your mains examination, initially you will say that Article 47, which is a directive principle. So the overall policy of this or fighting drug abuse is based on Article 47, where the policy is that there should be prohibition on consumption of these drugs. Except for medicinal use or toiletry preparations, these should be avoided. And also you can say that there are international conventions which are forming this. For example, Convention on Narcotic Drugs 1961, Convention on Psychotropic Substances. So when we talk about our act, it is combining both of them. It is at the center. Also, there is the United Nations Convention against illicit traffic on narcotic drugs. So these are the three conventions which are there at the international level, which are guiding our policy. Then we come to what are the existing laws. First is the Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940, the NDPS, which I talked about in the previous slide. Then we have the Prevention of Illicit Traffic, which is directly based on the convention. So the overall, you can show that these are in line. The international conventions and existing laws are in line. Overall, they are being guided by the Indian Constitution, which is mentioned in Article 47. Now, what are the other measures? When you talk about other measures, we have to see what are the overall steps. So, in other measures, one we have seen the Manas. In the previous section, we have seen this. Overall, there is also Anti-Narcotics Task Force in each state. Also, we have drugs disposal drives. You will see many times in the news that a roller is going over alcohol bottles. So all of that is the disposal drive. Then we have the Nidan portal for people who are narco offenders, so that they can come back into the normal life. Then there are canine squads or dogs are being trained for this. Establishment of special courts and fast track courts. Also, Nasha Mukt Bharat Abhiyan is for creation of awareness. So all of these will be your way forward, step taken, all of these will be covered into this segment. So if you have a good understanding of the structure and the overall regulatory framework, you will be able to write a good answer. So based on this, there will be a practice question. Discuss India's effort in the fight against drug abuse. Is it only an outcome of international obligations or is it inspired by domestic ideas? So this is a overarching question where you will first explain what is this issue we are talking about. Then you will first discuss that it has come out of the constitution, mainly the DPSP's article 47. Then we will talk about the international conventions and the domestic laws. Finally, the efforts which are being taken by the government. And lastly, you will say that this whole apparatus will help us to effectively fight the drug abuse. And when they are going to say finally whether is it an outcome of international obligation only, or is it because that India was asked by international organizations to fight drug abuse, or is India itself also talented enough or it recognizes this fact? So India is enlightened enough to know this because Article 47 is already there in the constitution. Okay. So this is how you will convince in the end, concluding mark. Indigenous light tank Zorawar. When a tank is less than 25 tons or up to 25 tons in mass, it is known as a light tank. Now, as you can understand, the requirement is for high altitude battles, that is with China, we can deploy this. This is the importance. Now, it is developed by L&T and DRDO. It is having a Cummins engine. So this is the company from which we have brought the engine. So now DRDO is trying to make this engine also by its own, but all the other parts are made by DRDO and L&T. So this is under production. This now has been finalized. Prototype is made. Now we have to make in mass production. So this is the overall thing which has happened in the news. Also, we will see some basic information that it has a 105 millimeter artillery gun and a 7.62 millimeter machine gun. It can have 3 people, rest are the speed specifications. So we will now understand what are the significance, challenges and the need of the hour. Now the biggest benefit of such a machine is that one, it is lightweight. So it will have high maneuverability. So it will be able to use much faster. And in such responses at high altitude, we require more firepower so that we can defend against China. So the overall benefit or the strategic outcome is China at high altitudes. So this is your overall outcome of this. But what is the challenge? Challenge is as and when the weight of tank is reduced, when the weight of the tank is reduced, so is the firepower. So if the weight is less, then the firing power or the ammunition or the millimeter of artillery which is going will also significantly reduce. So at the given situation, whatever is there is good, but the tank may be weak in front of a full heavyweight tank. So because China has an advantage of a better slope there, it will have advantage. It may deploy better tanks there. So this is one challenge. Another challenge is to integrate it with the upcoming technologies. So what is the conclusion? It is a much better technology because earlier we were not having this. Make in India is becoming more and more successful, but at the same time we need to overcome the challenges which have been mentioned here. So this is how you will understand the whole issue. Control of Nodal Cyber Security Watchdog, CERT-IN. This is the Computer Emergency Response Team. IN is India, We have discussed this in the previous lecture also. Now, what is the issue in this? The issue is that Ministry of Home Affairs as well as the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology are both saying that we need the control of this. Now, because MeitY or IT, Information and Technology, is the actual administrator right now of the CERT, but the Ministry of Home Affairs is saying whenever we have to solve crimes related to cyber crime, then it should be under us. Ministry of Home Affairs is for security. Internal security is handled by Ministry of Home Affairs. So all the IPS officers report to Ministry of Home Affairs. Security is under Ministry of Home Affairs. So cyber crime and cyber security, when this comes into picture, the CERT-In will operate. This will operate only when there is a cyber crime. So the Ministry of Home Affairs is saying, because the actual work is to report crimes, it should be under us. Ministry of IT is saying, because it is related to IT, it should be under us. So now what the Home Ministry is saying, that if there is an investigation, it will be better that it comes to us, because we are taking in charge of the law and order. So IT is saying that we make the IT infrastructure, so CERT-In will be with us. So the Ministry of Home Affairs has responded by saying that infrastructure creation is your work, but crime reporting and controlling of the crime is under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So this is the overall debate which is going on. Both of them are saying that CERT-In should be with me. So this is the problem. Now we will see what is the CERT-In. Now CERT-In is your nodal agency which is responsible for responding to computer security incidents. So as and when there is an attack or an incident, then the CERT-In will respond to it. It will try to save ourselves. Next, it will enhance the security of India's communications and infrastructure, information infrastructure. So whatever Wi-Fi communication, cellular communication is there, this CERT-In will be responsible for doing this. Computer Emergency Response Team. The ministry under which it is currently working is MeitY, which I showed you in the first slide. MeitY is Ministry of Information and Technology. Okay. Data and facts which will be useful for your mains, which you mention in your mains examination, is that the CERT-In was also in high profile investigations when we saw that the AIIMS was attacked. All the response of the AIIMS, New Delhi, came to a halt when the computer system were taken down. So it was a cyber attack. It also gave out a cyber security directive. After this incident, it gave out a directive that all those who are cloud operators and VPN operators, virtual network providers and all, so they will have to store the information of the customer who is taking services from them for 5 years. So this will help us to know who took the services, who was the attacker, from where was he coming. So this will help us prevent further attacks. So this is what was done at that time. Now an important fact is 1.4 million cyber security incidents were there in 2022. Okay. So this is your data and facts which you can use in the mains examination if a issue related to CERT-In comes. So now in this we have understood that the current issue is that Ministry of Home Affairs is asking for it because this CERT-In also has a role related with the security. So security will be coming under Ministry of Home Affairs. So this debate has come. So security, if it is related to internet, information and technology, then CERT-In will come into the picture. So Ministry of Home Affairs is saying security within India is a domain of the Ministry of Home Affairs. Currently it is under MeitY. Now we have militancy on the rise in Jammu. As you know that Jammu and Kashmir has been a very sensitive area with respect to the internal security. It is because of our placement of our neighbors and the friendly neighborhood which we have. Because of that, Kashmir had always been a target. Now, after the Union Territory has been created, Jammu has become a new target. It has been more recent. Though this militancy was active in the 90s, it has resurfaced. So now we will understand it in detail, what are the causes and what can be done in this. Initially, we will understand what is the new trend. So when also you start structuring your answer based on these questions, so this is how you will write. Since 2021, "31 incidents have taken place in Jammu. In Jammu, 31 terror incidents have taken place. Whereas in Kashmir, the number is much higher of the two. It is 263 attacks. The attacks which have taken place in Jammu are much less than those which have taken in Kashmir. But this is an alarming trend because this has suddenly started after a period of 30 years. Now, this problem is engaging fast. They are getting good results there. The terrorists are getting good results. The killings of the terrorists and the security forces are almost equal. For example, 47 security forces have been killed and 48 terrorists have been killed. And if you include the 19 death of the civilian, then the terrorists are less in number than the death of Indians. So this is causing a lot of trouble in the establishment. A disturbing trend here is that the attacks are also happening on pilgrims, which was earlier not happening, which is a disturbing trend. So it can communalize the whole situation very quickly. So it is giving better results to the terrorists in terms of their ideology and also to destabilize not only Jammu and Kashmir but having national ramifications for the country. So this is the overall situation right now. And also if you see that the frequency of the attacks has also increased. So these are the new trend which has developed recently. What is the reason for the rise? So the first reason is that the security forces are very much strong in the Kashmir region. Strong deployment in Kashmir. Secondly, what happened was that when China, in the Galwan incident when it took place, when China and India clashed, India thought that we will take up some forces from Jammu and put them in the Galwan Valley. So there were less concentration of security forces. So in Jammu there were less security forces. Also, Article 370 had been removed. So Article 370, when it went away, India started saying to the world that Jammu and Kashmir is a peaceful place. So now what Pakistan found out was that because China has diverted India's attention, we can attack in Jammu and they are getting good results there. So they have diverted their attention. This is also taking away the government's narrative that normalcy has come to Jammu and Kashmir. So this is the overall reason why this trend has come up. So what can be the conclusion? That we need to create intelligence networks. Earlier the network was active because there was militancy in Jammu also. But now this has inactive because this is again coming up. Earlier it was not there. Second thing is that we also have revived the village defense guard system. So this is also your way forward and also steps which have been taken. So based on this you can conclude, and also starting should be with the bit of facts, the reasons for the rise and what can be the steps taken. Stealth frigates from Russia. Now we have this technology called frigates. These are warships. Okay. So these are not very big in size like you see the cargo ships which will be bringing goods. Lot of space is taken there. Now one would ask that why, when we have to attack, why are we creating such a small ship when we can create a big ship and attack the enemy? Now the functionality of such type of ships will be that we have to attack quickly and we have to get out quickly without being detected. There are big aircraft carriers also which will cause more damage, but we have to focus what our task is. Task at hand is to attack quickly and come back. So this is when a frigate is used. Also, it will be having advanced technology which will be not detected on the radars. So this is your overall frigate, and these stealth frigates are coming from Russia. What is the name? Tushil and Tamal. So these are the names of these frigates. Now you will notice that this is coming from Russia, but its engine, Zorya Mashproekt, is coming from Ukraine. So this shows that India is a world accepted power, that even two warring parties are working together to supply our weapons on time. So though there was a delay, but with the recent visit of Prime Minister Modi and the global diplomacy of India, this has been possible. So the technology which is used in these is the radar absorbent materials and angular designs which do not let them come into the radar of the enemy. Atmanirbharta in defense, Ministry of Defense notifies 5th positive list for defense indigenization. Positive list means that we have said yes for production, that we are positive for it, that we will go for it. This is not a very new news because this has been done in the past also, but we need to know because it is a recent event. So if you see the current affairs, there is also continuation to them. It is not that everything will be starting from the scratch when a new news comes. So in this will be an order given by the Department of Defense Production because they are going to produce these things. What will be the implication? The implication will be that these lists which have been given will be produced only by Indian manufacturers. So the facts and data are not going to be asked in the prelims in this, that how many items were indigenized at this event, but the overall thing which they can ask for the examination is that what will be the strategic importance. So the strategic importance will be 1. Defense import will reduce, the dependency will reduce, and also in balance of trade. These two are the main and major improvements which we get by producing our own defense equipment. We will not be dependent. National security is a total outcome of this. Okay. How? And also if you are writing in mains this time, this is the data which you can use. 36,000 items have been offered for indigenization. More than 12,300 items have already been indigenized. And this is the order worth 7,500 crores have roughly been made by Indian manufacturers, and this is giving a big boost to the Indian industry. So this you can use as a data point in your mains answers. Navy and Army chiefs receive Param Vishisht Seva Medal. So the current Army chief, which is General Upendra Dwivedi, and the Navy chief Admiral Dinesh Kumar Tripathi have received the Param Vishisht Seva Medal. It is the highest honor, a military award which recognizes exceptional service of the highest order during the peacetime. INS Brahmaputra severely damaged in fire. So earlier we learned about a frigate. Now this is also an indigenous frigate that was being called by Russia. The difference is this is not a stealth frigate, this is a normal one, but it is a Brahmaputra class, means whenever there will be a INS Brahmaputra, you will know that it is a frigate, and it is a guided missile frigate, that we can send guided missiles through this frigate when we will be going to attack, but it is not stealth. So when these features are said, you have to remember, okay, these can come as match the following. Tushil and Tamal, when we read it in the previous slide, they are stealth frigates. This is guided missile frigate. So this is the difference. This was commissioned in April 2000, and the various Weapons which are loaded are medium range, close range, anti-aircraft guns, surface to surface, surface to air missiles, torpedo launchers and warfare sensors. So basically it is an attacking vessel. So these have to be there. So even if anything comes to your mind, what will be there in a frigate? So you can remember all of these. So if the word stealth is added, then it will be having technology that the design will be such, the paint used will be such that it will be not detected in the radars. Captain Suparitha, she is the first Indian women officer from the Corps of Army Air Defence. Army Air Defence means that Army also will be having its own helicopters which it uses for operational needs. And she is first one to be deployed in the Siachen Glacier. So if they make a very closely related statement that first woman from Indian Army, so that will be wrong. She is the first from the Corps of Army Air Defence. But overall, Shiva Chauhan was the first woman Indian Army officer to serve in the Siachen. So this is this news for you. India successfully tests Phase 2 ballistic missile defense system. So what is a ballistic missile? From point A to point B, it will be taking a parabolic path. So if the path of the missile is parabolic, then it is a ballistic missile. Phase 2 means it is basically an upgradation of phase 1. So it will be having longer range. Second phase will be having a range up to 5,000 kilometers. So intercontinental ballistic missiles are also coming into the reach now. So this is what we have in terms of this missile. So this is a ballistic missile. What is a cruise missile? Which will follow a path near to the ground. So that will be the use of the ballistic missile and the cruise missile. This one is cruise. Now we will understand what is the strategic importance and the challenges. Now there are two types of ballistic missiles or anti-ballistic missiles. What happens is, so first one is the endo-atmospheric and the second is exo-atmospheric. Endo means that within the Earth's atmosphere it will fire. Exo means outside the atmosphere it will also fire. Now if you look very closely, you will be simply thinking that it is made to destroy missiles. But looking at its range, it can also be used to destroy satellites. So this is the strategic implication of this, that not only can we destroy bigger missiles even outside the atmosphere, but it also means that we can now destroy satellite also. This is a assured statement by India. This means that in event of a war, we can also destroy Chinese communication satellites. So we have shown a next level of deterrence. So Pakistan is not going to be considered here because the range is much less. They do not have this capability. But for China, this is going to be a very big issue because they were not expecting this from India, but it has been developed. So this is one of the biggest strategic reasons. Next is that this gives us another added layer of protection. Overall, it will bring stability and deterrence in the region, in the South Asian region. Specifically for China, it is a huge setback. Now, what are the challenges and the future prospect? Challenge is that the trial version has been done. But what is needed is whether we can replicate it at the mass production scale, whether we can create it quickly, because the stability in this region is at its lowest. Bangladesh, China, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, many of these countries are facing a lower economic period where the economic activity is low. So there are definitely chances that they may outperform themselves in terms of wars. They might want to put the blame on India and start a war. So this situation has to be considered, and the future prospects should be that we should be also ready to integrate artificial intelligence in this, so that the missiles which are made are of the first class category. Now, the conclusion we can say that this missile has been of a great significance to Indian defense. But at the same time, effort should be made to quickly complete this process and integrate it with the upcoming technology. Based on this, you can answer this question. Ballistic missile defense system is not only a leap forward in defense technology, but also a strategic victory. Discuss. So here the aspect related to space and satellite should also come into consideration. Otherwise your answer will be simply related to defense. We have to showcase how our understanding is better than the competition. 21st edition of the Khan Quest. This is a military exercise which was happening in Mongolia. This is a multinational peacekeeping exercise. Earlier it was started between USA and Mongolia, and Mongolia is a neighbor of China. So strategically USA started this with an unequal partner. Mongolia is not a very big country that you will send your military to train there. It is not Russia or it is not UK, Germany that the militaries will exercise together. But Mongolia is chosen for a specific reason because it is very close to China. So this also sends a message, but we will stick to the facts here. It is a multinational peacekeeping exercise started by USA in 2003, and for 2006 they decided we will make it multinational. So India also participated. The main goal is that the peacekeeping operations, countries should be ready and cooperate with each other. This is under chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter. So please remember the chapter number, which can be asked as a MCQ. Panel finds cracks that help hackers target job seekers. Now, in the earlier edition we had understood that the business of hacking has moved from Mewat to Southeast Asia. Major portion of that business has been taken over to Southeast Asia. Earlier Jamtara was the most significant place from where these activities were taking place. Then it went to Mewat and then to Southeast Asia. This is the new report finding. So interministerial panel was found. It found out that the PSU bank managers from SBI and PNB are involved in opening mule bank accounts. Mule bank account means that accounts which are specially opened to do money laundering. Mules simply take one thing from other. So these accounts are also for this, moving money from one account to other, showing that this is an actual transaction, but they have no other purpose. So these are opened either by stolen IDs or fake IDs. But if a bank manager is also involved, then it becomes easier to open this account. The whole purpose is not to create actual transactions, but to hide illegal activities. So that is a mule account for you. So how did this happen? One is that the bank employees were involved. Also 30,000 unreturned passengers. So people went there, around 80,000 people went to visit, but 30,000 have not come back. So they are basically in Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar and Vietnam and working to illegally take money, cyber frauds. So also one thing was found that the bulk SMS feature is also being misused. A large number of fake SIMs are also being generated. So this is the overall finding. And the data point which you can use in your mains is around 45% of the cyber crime is now coming from Southeast Asia, overtaking also Mewat and Jamtara for the center of cyber crime in India. Exercise Pitch Black. So this is yet another military exercise. As you can see, this is Air Force related. This is a biennial, means once in 2 years, done by the Royal Australian Air Force. And it is also a multinational exercise. And the bases are Darwin and Tyndall. So these are the exercise Pitch Black for you. You have to remember that this is also a multinational exercise. So with this we complete today's discussion, and thank you so much.